people nowadays, right? Whenever they have urges, they do the traditional methods like do 10 push-ups, take a cold shower. But
Yeah.
the truth is like, are you actually gonna do that when you could just be sitting here
Yeah.
and like at the
Yeah.
comfort of your bedroom? You're not gonna, right?
Yeah.
But then with easy peasy, it's just like, yo, PMO is just slavery. I don't even want to do that.
Yep.
And then you're free just like that.
Hey everyone, this is the Celibate Yogi. You're listening to Filling the Void. In this week's episode, we're going to listen from a 14-year-old as he asks some of the biggest questions he has in his mind about what it takes to be free from the porn addiction. I hope all of you had a wonderful start to this new year, and I hope you were able to say good riddance to 2020. Let's get started today.
In your cheat sheet, right? There was one part which I didn't really understand. If you're feeling on edge with withdrawal and want to take just one peek, remember, change the meaning of what you're feeling. Don't think of your body is asking for its fix. Instead, tell yourself, wow, this is how it feels when the poison drains out of me. Change the meaning of what you're feeling, and withdrawals will be easily overcome. You're not fighting, i.e., using your willpower. You are changing the meaning. Do you clarify that?
Yeah. That's a really important idea, and I think a lot of people have asked me about it. And one example that comes to mind is when you're working out, when you're lifting a lot of weights, maybe you're trying out a new like running regimen or something like that. The first couple of days that you work out, you feel a little bit sore, and it might even continue on for like a week or a month. But if you're serious about fitness, then you start thinking that, okay, well, this soreness is actually great because it means my muscles are getting stronger. It means that I am getting stronger. So even though it feels painful at the time, your mind knows that it's not actually painful. It's actually a sign of progress. It's actually a sign of you becoming a better person, you becoming stronger. And I think we need to rethink of these. Once you quit PMO forever, um, you might get these little, the monster might speak to you and might tell you that, hey man, just have one quick peek. Hey man, just this won't do anything bad for you. And then you kind of start getting into that fight again. And instead, what you can do is look at it and say, not today. I know you're a monster. I know you're not a part of me. I know you're external to me, and I'm not going to engage with you. And it's going to have a tantrum. Like think of a school bully. A school bully comes up to you and says, "Give me your lunch money. Give me everything you've got." And you kind of just very calmly say, "Not today," and you walk away. And as you're walking away, you realize that this bully had no power, but the bully is going to make a lot of noise. It's going to throw a tantrum. It's going to run around and make a lot of noise and call you a bunch of names. But if you give in at that point, then the bully will come bother you again the next day and the day after. The best thing to do with the bully is just say, "No, man, not today." And if it makes a tantrum, you kind of let it be until eventually it gets the idea that, hey, I can't bully this guy anymore. I just got to go away. And so that's really how we have to think about it, right? Like these cravings come up.
Yeah.
On one hand, of course, like the craving for like being with someone is normal, but the kind of hyper, the hyper artificial stimulation that we get from PMO is so fake, and the brain will still crave that. And you really have to see that, okay, it's just poison leaving away. It's like the muscle that gets sore after working out, but actually it's getting stronger. It feels painful, but it's actually a good thing. So if the PMO bully is yelling at you, it's making a bunch of tantrums when you quit it, it's actually a good thing. You can tell yourself, oh, like, isn't this amazing that this guy is now going to just go away and die?
Oh, so this helps people deal with the mindset, basically, like how to treat
Yes.
urges.
Yes.
That was such a good analogy, right? Because I also exercise sometimes, and then for the first month or 2 months, your body is just like sore. Like after cardio or like lifting weights or whatever that may be,
Yeah.
your muscles are just like sore. But then eventually, right, you barely feel that urge anymore. Like it's not even a thing anymore. So I guess that's how it is with PMO. Like there's urges for the first week, maybe month, and then eventually, you don't. PMO seems like a cruel joke at this point, right?
Yeah, and it's I might not even call it urges because that implies that you kind of have to give into it, but it's
Oh
kind
yeah.
of like, oh, like I'm hungry, I'm having like an urge to eat, and it's not that. It's actually like a completely artificial thing. It's like it's the demands of a monster. It's the demands of like a terrorist saying that, give me, or demands of a bank robber being like, give me all your money. It's the demands of a bully. Give me your lunch. Um, yeah, you
Oh,
can't go into it. Go
so
ahead.
when I get like these so-called urges, they're not even like you're saying to just change the meaning of them, basically,
Yes, that's
not even
exactly
do
it.
them. Okay. Do you have any other tips for dealing with those withdrawals or cravings?
Yeah, I think a lot of people think, and I used to think this way, that if I don't give in to these urges, I'm going to explode. Has that ever happened to you? You're like, oh, I'm just gonna I have to give in, otherwise I'm just
Yeah,
done for.
like I remember having like a 2-month streak, right?
Mhm.
And then it was like, wow, I beat my old record, might as well.
Mhm.
And then that happened, and then this whole like mindset with streaks, no fap, and like stuff like that. It's kind of, I don't know what to describe it, but like it really affects you. Like it just like it doesn't work like that. Like at one point you're going to give in to these fake the fake illusory of PMO basically.
That's exactly it. I think the counting of streak, the counting of the number of days you've been PMO free is so incredibly toxic, because a part of you still thinks of PMO as a prize. It continues to think of PMO as a positive thing, as a good thing, and it's almost like a cookie or like a piece of chocolate or a piece of cake. And it's like, oh, it's kind of like cheat day. You work out for a month and you're like, well, today's cheat day. I'm gonna have a pizza. And it's almost that same mindset. You're like, I've gone a month, I've gone 2 months PMO. Now let me have this reward. You're still holding PMO. You're still putting it on a pedestal. Um, and it's torturous, right? It's complete torture to go for a week, a month, 2 months without PMO then, because you're constantly fighting. You're constantly saying, I can't have the cookie. I can't have the cookie. I can't have the chocolate. And you've had your 2 month streak and you're like, okay, now I can have it. And you reward yourself at that point. But the key distinction that I'm trying to make is PMO it is not a prize. It's not a piece of chocolate. It's not a piece of chocolate cake. It's not a cookie. It's poison. It's downright poison. And a complete aside, if you like understand what sugar does to your body and blah blah blah, then you'll know that even sugar in some ways is poison. But that's a completely unrelated topic. But um, yeah, it's absolutely poison, and you can't keeping track of, I've gone 10, 15, 20, 30, 80 days without PMO is in many ways perpetuating people staying stuck in this cycle.
Also, another thing that I see some people do, right? It's like they say I went without PMO for X amount of days, and then they say if I go for PMO without PMO for 30 days, they'll reward themselves with like a fancy Louis Vuitton bag or fancy clothes and stuff. But I think those are like false incentives, if I'm saying that right.
Yes, you are.
And then you're just giving PMO all that power. You're just giving PMO the fact that like if you're putting all this work, then it sort of treats PMO as some type of forbidden fruit, if I should say. And
Yes.
then eventually they're straining at the leash, they're using their willpower, and then they end up giving in, and then the cycle repeats for life unless they cut it.
That's exactly it. It's a vicious cycle. Substitutes don't work. Rewards and prizes don't work. Do you give yourself a reward for not having heroin today, or not having cocaine today? Of course not. I mean, like, quitting it is the prize. Escaping from it is the prize. When you have these substitutes and you give these external prizes, you still hold on to this idea that PMO is positive, that there's some good in it. And you're absolutely right. It's downright
Slavery.
harmful to do these things when you're trying to quit.
Okay, so one of my false beliefs, right? It's like there's an attractive woman on my screen, so
Mhm.
it's basically like infinite pleasure, infinite enjoyment. So what could I do to get rid of this belief?
Well, first of all, I would say that a lot of people think that what they're trying to do is escape from PMO, but the stark reality of today's society is that PMO, or pornographic images, are not just found on a few sites on the internet. They're not just found on special tube sites or special image sites or something like that. Increasingly, more and more and more of all media is becoming sexualized in nature. You can look at it when you're watching movies. You can look at it when you're watching TV shows or music videos or even video games. Um, if you go on the best-selling list of books, even increasingly books have these very vivid, almost unnecessarily grotesque and sexual imagery written into it. And there's a reason why, like, people say that sex sells. People say that this sort of imagery, these sorts of things, they kind of hijack your brain, and they make you crave these things. So you end up watching the next episode, the next season. You end up watching that movie. You end up watching that music video, even though the music itself is terrible. You still end up watching it, and you still end up dancing to it. And um, it's all just a cycle. And more of culture is becoming pornographic by its very nature. And so when you say that you're looking at your computer, you see someone attractive on your screen, you have this urge to act out. And first of all, I sympathize with you. I think younger people, and I know you're in your teens, are increasingly growing up in an age where there's all the social media, where these sorts of images rise up to the top. You have a classmate, you have a colleague at work, you've got like someone in your friend circle, they pop up on your social media feed, and you end up looking at it, and then what starts off as just a social media addiction then rolls over into PMO addiction, because one thing leads to another, and you're down that roller coaster again, and you're on these tube sites. And so I would first of all make sure that people understand that we're not trying to escape just the PMO trap. We're trying to be very conscious and mindful of this bigger sexualized imagery trap that modern media is throwing at us, that social media is throwing at us. So my question back to you before I dive into this a little bit more deeply with you about this particular belief is, were you, did this image that pops up for you, is it on a tube site? Is it on social media? Is it on YouTube? Is it on
It's
Instagram?
it's like I'm on YouTube or like I'm on like some like website doing homework or something,
Yeah,
and it just pops up, right? And I think that's to like brainwash people. 'Cause
absolutely. You're absolutely right. I think it's all part of brainwashing. This brainwashing tells you that, hey, if you aren't with someone attractive, if you aren't doing it all the time with someone, then you're a loser. You watch a James Bond movie, and at the very end, he goes off with the beautiful, attractive person, and they end up in bed. You watch TV shows like Friends or How I Met Your Mother. I haven't watched too many new TV shows lately, but
yes,
those are the ones that come to mind for me. And pretty much in every episode, they're all just talking about, or there's a subtext of, well, sex, or like someone hooking up with someone else, some relationship with someone else. And watching it enough times, you think, well, since I'm not doing it, I'm a loser. I'm not worthy. And it's all part of brainwashing. Um,
yeah. That's why I cut out all TV shows and like movies. I'm now trying to cut off video games, and I've cut out video games for about 3 weeks right now.
Mhm.
But I've cut out shows, TV shows, movies, and stuff like that for like 4 months right now.
That's
And
fantastic.
personally, I feel way happier and like way more in control than I am right now than before. Because before it was just like I was a slave to PMO. Like wake up, do it. It's like multiple times a day, like 1 to 3 times a day. Like I literally had no energy at that point. And at one point, I was suicidal at one point. And then someone on Reddit showed me the PMO hackbook. Right, I found out about it, and then it straight up changed my life. Like I'm about like, I know I'm not supposed to count streaks or anything, but I'm about 3 or 6 months free from PMO right now.
That
And
is amazing.
I think countering these brainwashed beliefs and like why we even need to do PMO really helps, as well as like just changing up your lifestyle and your mindset to what PMO is. Once you discover the true reality and the true slavery of it, it's not attractive at all. It's literally just poison. Urges are basically hungry for poison at this point, and it's a sad reality that people can't see it that way.
I mean, that is exactly it. One thing that came to mind as you were talking to me was, if people want to be mindful of what media they're watching, whether it be movies or TV, I'd recommend a site called commonsensemedia.org.
Yeah,
Commonsensemedia.org.
that's a really good website.
That's a fantastic site because it curates books, TV shows, movies, even YouTube channels to tell you if there's any like sexualized imagery, if it has any positive messages. It's funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and they help parents make very mindful decisions about what they're showing their kids. But I know in my life, and I'm a guy in my 30s, I use this to figure out if I should watch a movie or if I should watch a TV show. Because if a TV show or a movie doesn't have any positive message to it, if it has nothing to contribute to my life, if it's only going to make me feel terrible, if it's going to brainwash me, then why would I even bother watching it? So just a resource for people listening in, that they should consider checking out the other sites to kind of curate what they're watching. They don't need to go cold turkey and quit all TV and all movies like you did, which is fantastic, by the way. But they can be a lot more selective of what they're choosing to watch and engage with.
I have one question for you. It's kind of off topic, but
No, that's fine.
did you watch anime? Because whenever I've watched it, right, I was watching shows like My Hero Academia, and the amount of brainwashing that was there. I remember there was one scene where I think Midori or something, he was one of the characters was yelling, "I want a harem. I want an online harem," or something like that. And that's crazy. That's a show for like 12, 14-year-olds. The fact that they're brainwashing us like that. Also, the amount of filth that's on anime sometimes, it's like you shouldn't even be like seeing that stuff. So I personally recommend not to watch anime, but if you want, just use commonsense.org and then like be smart about it.
Absolutely. I haven't watched that particular anime, but I grew up when I was like in my teens watching a lot of anime, and I loved it. But then I definitely noticed there was like a lot of hyper stylistic characters as well. Like I grew up watching Cowboy Bebop, if you even know what that is, or Ghost in the Shell, or I mean, there are a bunch of other ones that I used to watch, and my social circle was often also revolved around these topics, these animes, these movies, these TV
Yeah,
shows.
same for me. Like I'm getting pressurized right now to watch shows and stuff. Like
And
that's yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, like I'm getting pressurized by like my friends. They're like, "Hey man, how come you're just being like, how come you're so hardcore, not even watching any shows or movies? How come you've cut out all these things from your life?" They think like I'm miserable or depressed, but like the truth is, I think I'm in a way better position than they are. Like I'm better physically, mentally, and spiritually. But these shows, right? Like I can't even watch them for a second now because they literally have such strong supernormal stimulus in them. So I don't know how people watch them, because if you're constantly feeding shows like if you're constantly feeding or watching animes or feeding supernormal stimulus into your life, then your thoughts are going to revolve around that. So yeah, I don't know how to deal with it right now, so I just cut them off. But I think there's a better solution.
Yeah, a few things that kind of come to mind in response to that is the first thing is in many cases it really is a matter of age. I think like a lot of younger people don't understand the implications of what they're doing right now, but they will start noticing it. I remember coaching someone in their late teens, early 20s. They were in college, and he told me that his entire social circle revolves around anime, and he's on all these Discord servers, and of course, when you talk about anime, you end up talking about certain women, and there's a lot of imagery that gets posted on that Discord server. And if you aren't participating in it, then you're kind of considered uncool. And it's not just with anime. If you aren't watching, I don't know, Game of Thrones, if you aren't watching some other popular TV show or popular movie, you're considered an outcast. You're considered as someone who's old-fashioned or someone who's not with the times. And that's another part of this cultural brainwashing. And we should pity those people that they are so plugged into this system that is destroying them, that they resent people or they throw people out who challenge it, who aren't satisfied with the status quo. Um, so I'm absolutely with you. I think there's a lot of societal brainwashing, and people are so plugged in, they're so brainwashed by all of this stuff that if they see someone not doing it, they think that they're uncool, they're unsophisticated. And the best thing to do in cases like that is we have to pity them, we have to have compassion for them and kind of feel sorry for them that they can't see how trapped they are. And the other thing is, if someone expresses a genuine interest in trying to understand, like, why are you doing this, why are you acting out the way you are, then it's a great opportunity to actually talk to them about this, to actually help them understand that, okay, well, here's the impact that TV is having in your life, here's the impact that all of this sexualized imagery is having in your life. Show them what PMO does to your brain, and by going on your brain on porn, if give them a challenge that, hey, like, don't watch it for a week and see what happens. And then most of these people will be shocked that they can't quit it for even a week. And then suddenly know that they're an addict. So more and more people are waking up, even at a younger and younger age, but there are just as many people plugged in. And we have to have pity for them, compassion for them, and extend a willing hand to whoever shows interest.
Yes, for sure. Okay. I also have another question for you. So some people they're kind of scared of urges or cravings.
Mhm.
So how would you overcome that mentality or that fear?
They're
It's sort of like
a little bit more.
It's sort of like a fear of the unknown. So they're afraid of urges.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, this is one of the big reasons that people feel afraid to quit, because they think that, what if I get an urge? If I can't respond to it, I'm going to explode. This is a very common fear, and uh, the best way of dealing with it is, well, I can ask you right now, is that true? Will you explode if you have an urge and you don't kind of deal with it?
No.
Okay, and having that false belief, what does that do to you? If you continue to believe that if I have an urge and I don't scratch it, I'm going to explode, what's that going to do with your life if you continue to believe that?
That's gonna build up unnecessary tension and just cause so much stress.
That's exactly it. You have to realize that not PMOing isn't causing the stress. It's the belief that you're going to explode that makes you create all the stress. Um, it's purely intellectual. It's purely at the level of belief. And if you stop believing this, you wouldn't feel that extra stress. So if you know it's not true and you know that it's affecting your life in a negative way, then you can just choose to drop it. You can choose to say that, I really am not going to explode from all this. I know it's not true. And I know it's holding on to this belief is causing unnecessary stress in my life. So I'm just choosing to drop it. And it really is just a choice. You just choose the belief, and then you have to keep affirming it to yourself. I think a lot of people make the mistake in the beginning that they think they've quit PMOing, and a short while later they end up relapsing. They're like, hey, what happened? I thought I got it. And it goes back to the idea of brainwashing. You're just getting brainwashed so often with modern media, with your friends, with society in general, that unless you're conscious and mindful, you end up sinking into the trap again. So you have to consciously remind yourself of what the actual truth is. That the truth is, I'm not going to explode if I don't PMO. I am going to be just fine. I am a non-user. It feels great to be a non-user. It feels great to have this bully talk to me, and I don't have to fight it. I just let him have his tantrum. The more tantrums he has, eventually he's going to realize that he's going to lose and he's going to run away from here. So that positive self-talk is so important, because if you don't do it, then someone else is going to talk negatively in your ear, and that's what's going to make you slip.
Wait, so how do you do this positive self-talk? You just like say self-affirmations?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. And I've been I don't watch PMO anymore. I don't PMO, but I've been doing affirmations every single day
Even to
in the
this
morning.
day?
Even to this day, I look in the mirror in the morning and I tell myself the positive things I want to believe, the actual truth, the true beliefs that I want to implement in my life. And some of them are about PMO, but some of them are about my health. Some of them are about, you know, the financial place I want to be, or where I want to be in my career, the kind of relationship I want with my partner and with my family and parents and all that kind of stuff. So I continuously tell myself the right things, and I look myself in the mirror. I put my hand on my heart, and I have a page filled with beliefs, and I literally read them out loud.
Oh wow, that seems like a really good method. I feel like people they just read easy peasy, and then like after a week or so they just relapse and they're so confused. I think they need to like actively do some more stuff, like whether it be self affirmations, like you said, positive self talk and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I emphasize in my book, and even in the cheat sheet that you have. I have a bunch of those statements that I hope people will pick up and actually say them out loud to themselves. And with every person I coach in my like one-on-one coaching sessions, I make them develop these custom affirmations that hyper target the false beliefs they have. In my coaching sessions, I kind of make them think about their false beliefs, and when we're done dealing with them, I make them develop the opposite of it, the actual positive true belief of the situation, and then I make them actually say it out loud to themselves for the next week, for the next month, and the results I get back are always amazing. They're always telling me that, you know, my goodness, this is what's really making the lessons stick.
Oh, can you can we run it back? Like, can you show me how you do it with your other clients?
Yeah,
With your,
so the belief that we're working on right now is that, you know, if I don't PMO, I'm going to explode, right? That's like people are afraid that if I don't give in to the urge, or what's going to happen if I don't give in to the urges anymore, and people are afraid of the unknown. And a counter statement to something like that might be, I am capable. I am capable of anything that comes my way. I am fully able to deal with all the urges that come up. Urges are just poison leaving my body. Like those could be some reverse affirmations that counteract the brainwashing. That I'm going to explode, that the urges are going to overwhelm me, that I'm not capable of dealing with them, that I have to fight with these urges and like go back to the level of willpower method. These affirmations kind of counteract that force.
okay, I see. So it's sort of like you know, years of progressive brainwashing, right? It
Mhm.
takes time to rewire, basically, right? Reprogram, because usually the average PMO is like they see trigger, they act, right? We have to deconstruct this, right?
Yeah, and you really got to think of going back to the analogy of the school bully. You know, it's lunchtime, you go out onto the playground, and if you're by yourself, and the bully sees you and it comes up to you and bullies you and says, "Give me your lunch money, give me your lunch," and you end up getting beaten up by the bully. But if you have friends around you, and the more friends you have, the less likely it is that the bully is going to come to you. Well, this positive self-talk is like having those friends around you. You know, cutting out the brainwashing in your life from movies and TV and, you know, music videos and stuff. That's like having friends around you. If anything, I just realized this, but like movies and TV and music videos that actually brainwash you are like having your enemies circle you, and then the bully comes up to you and then it fights you. Like you have no chance. You're going to get beaten up.
It's just
Um,
asking for you to get jumped at this point.
exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah, but the stronger you can make yourself, this positive self-talk, these affirmations, by reflecting on the lessons from the book and really repeating them to yourselves like constantly, that's you building allies, friends around you so that the bully doesn't come to you anymore.
Another thing that I think I heard you quote was the hack book won't work without contemplation. So
Yes.
how exactly do we contemplate the book, right? People just take notes, but they don't like truly reflect on the lessons. But can you just explain how to contemplate the hack book or
Yeah,
properly read it? Yeah.
of course. I think when a lot of people take notes, and this applies not just to like the book, but it applies even to their school, their like professional development, all that sort of stuff. But when people often read, they're taking, and if they manage to take notes, their notes are just summary bullet points. You know, whatever is in a full paragraph, they summarize down to a sentence, and that's great. That's a great first step. But to really make it stick in your mind, you have to turn around and ask the question, well, how does this apply to me? If you read a thing that says, well, PMO doesn't help you deal with stress, and then it explains the whole biological process of how that actually works and actually how PMO causes the stress, doesn't actually relieve it. You read it, you're nodding along, you're like, oh yeah, this is great. But then if you were actually actively contemplating, you would pause and say, well, hold on, has this happened to me? When has this happened to me? And and then you really put yourself in the shoes and you're very actively engaging with the material. You're making it about you, which is how you should be doing it. You should be making it about you. And once you have that reflection, you can continuously think about it. The next time you're on your way to school, or you're going to bed and you're feeling a little bit stressed, you can tell yourself, oh, remember, I used to, when I would get stressed, the PMO monster would make me want to act out and relapse, but I don't do that anymore. Isn't that great? Like, that's what active contemplation looks like. It's kind of like when you're studying for physics, you're studying for science or something like that, and you read about a concept. The best students, the most effective students, what they do is that they just don't take passive notes, summaries of what they're reading, but they actually link it to what they've seen in the real world. And so when you actively take what you're reading from the book and apply it to the real world, to your own life, that's when the lesson really starts sticking.
Okay, that cleared so many misconceptions about it. Thank you. Do you have any additional resources to help people? Because I've seen in the Discord, right, people are either relapsing because of escapism, like the stresses of their life is too much and they just want like a quick release, and then they always think PMO gives them that sort of relief, but the truth is it doesn't. And then that's a whole nother cycle, and that's something that has to be addressed.
Yeah, I was talking with someone not too long ago, just like you, who also was quitting TV. They were quitting the movies and all that kind of stuff. Really, quitting PMO is the first step. The whole process of quitting PMO, through the method that I advocate, is by seeing through the lie that PMO is a benefit to it. So it's really going from falsehood to truth. And the more you invest yourself in trying to understand the truth of how things work, the more likely it is that you're going to start giving up a lot of things in society that are false, that brainwash you. One of the big things that helped me quit TV forever was a book called Amusing Ourselves to Death by a guy called Neil Postman. And it really beautifully explains how modern media, brainwashes you. It doesn't give you a second to think, and it perpetuates a lot of these false ideas. A very simple example of that is when you're reading a book, you can pause, you can think about what the book is saying, and then you can move on. But when you're watching a movie, the movie is playing back at you at 24 frames a second, and it's just going from one scene to another, to another, to another. And sure, you can hit the pause button, you want to use the bathroom, get some popcorn, that sort of thing, but visual stimulation by its very nature doesn't give you a moment to think. That what's actually happening here? What's the actual context here? What's this actually doing to me? You're just so absorbed in the story of what's happening on the screen that you can't pull yourself away. And that really, destroys your ability to critically think. It destroys your ability to understand like the subconscious messages that a movie or TV show is giving you. So that book was very instrumental for me. There's a fantastic series by Charlie Booker on YouTube called How TV Ruined Your Life. And I think there's like a six episodes, which is a little bit ironic that I'm recommending 6 episodes of something that helps you actually quit TV. But How TV Ruined Your Life, 6 parts, and how modern media, the stories it tells, really shapes how you think about success, how you think about relationships and love, what you think about happiness, what you think about sex, how you think about health, how you think about the world. Like just watching news, for example, constantly makes you think the world is breaking apart and everything's just going to explode in the very next moment. So of course you carry that anxiety with you, and then you try and fill it with PMO, which once again creates a bigger void. And so really, like, quitting PMO is really the first step towards going from falsehood to truth. And if you invest yourself in trying to understand what the truth is of society, of your own self, you will quite normally and quite easily start giving up more and more things that are perpetuating falsehoods. I think that if anyone commits themselves quite deeply to this process, they too will uncover this much bigger meta story, this much bigger meta narrative that's influencing them, that's brainwashing them, that's making them unhappy and discontent in their life.
Yeah, I also think people should go on social media detoxes and stuff like that, because when you go on like a dopamine detox, right? Like there's 3 modes. There's easy mode where you're allowed to have like 1 hour of entertainment. There's medium mode where you're just for the whole week you're not allowed to have any forms of distractions, and in the weekends you could watch a movie or a show. And then there's hard mode, which you do for a month, and then no forms of digital distractions and whatever that may be. But the thing is, when you're doing a detox, right, you're getting bored basically. You're allowing your thoughts and your emotions to flow through your brain. So then when you're doing a detox, you're basically connecting with yourself. Yeah. And
100%. Sorry,
so
keep going.
because of this, you're actively self-reflecting and contemplating about yourself, life in general, etc. So I feel like if you do a detox, you're just going to be way more happier as a person, and you're going to be more able to grasp the concepts and easy peasy and implement it into a lifestyle of freedom.
I think that's a wonderful point. I know that quitting social media for me was huge. It made such a huge difference in my life. Um, I remember I became a lot more satisfied with my wife, with my life as well when I quit social media. Like I didn't need to go on LinkedIn all the time and compare myself to my friends and colleagues and how they're doing in their careers. When I didn't have to go on Facebook to figure out what vacations people are going on, I was just happier. And I quit social media, I quit Facebook, I quit Instagram a few years back, and it's made me a lot happier. And it definitely contributed to my um, towards my easier recovery, my easier escape from PMO.
Yeah. Okay. Wait. So I actually have one brainwash belief. Can
Yeah,
you help me like counteract that?
sure. Let's work on it.
Okay. So it's the fear of relapsing,
Okay.
because I've relapsed before in the past at like at a high number and stuff. So
Mhm.
I want to be able to stop thinking about streaks or any of that stuff.
Yeah. So how do you phrase it? Like when you say fear of relapse, what do you mean by that? Tell me about that in more detail.
Um, like the fear that I might do PMO or something.
Right. Okay. So it's like a feeling that if that something will happen and that
Yeah.
I'm gonna end up PMOing. Uh, so my question to you is, and I'm gonna ask you a bunch of questions, and they're gonna seem a bit silly, but let's just play along. Um, can you absolutely know that that's true?
Um,
Can you tell the future?
no.
Okay. Um, so it's not actually true. And what happens when you believe that you might just end up relapsing in the future?
I'm going to relapse.
That's it.
Relapse
And,
is like a cycle.
and so just to clarify here, there might be like two levels to this. The, an element of it is a brainwashed belief that okay, I'm gonna relapse. I'm gonna end up wanting to take a peek, and then I'm gonna end up relapsing, and it's just gonna explode from there. That's one side of the belief. The other side might just be a protective thing that I don't want to have you in one peak. I'm free of this. I don't want to have poison in my life. Um, so if you know that this belief is not true, um, then you can choose to let it go, and you can affirm the truth to yourself, and you can tell yourself that I am capable of dealing with whatever life throws at me. And that might be your homework for you. I want you to find the counteracting belief that is a lot more positive. So I'm suggesting one, which is I am capable. What else? It might be um, I don't
I'm
need
free
to
from
take any
slavery.
peeks. Go ahead. You're about to say something.
I'm free from the slavery of
Yeah,
PMO.
that's wonderful. Yeah, I'm free from the slavery of PMO.
I never have to do this again or something like
Yeah,
that.
I never had to do this again. Can you
Hmm.
just choose to drop that old belief that I'm gonna end up slipping and PMOing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
just a
I feel
choice.
good.
Say that again.
I feel good right now.
Yeah,
It's like, oh,
yeah,
it's like a heavy weight been lifted off my shoulder.
yeah. Like lies always
So
burden
easy.
us down. Lies burden us down.
Hmm.
And so your homework, I would really recommend is that you take the one that you just said that I'm free from the slavery, and you tell it to yourself every day. I'm free from the slavery. I am capable of dealing with whatever life throws at me. Those are just my suggestions. If you have other ones that you come up with, and you can share them with me later on Discord. Um, but say them out loud. If you feel the brainwashing still there, then start saying these statements to yourself to counteract the brainwashing.
Wait, can I create like a large document with just self affirmations to counter whatever like brainwashed beliefs I have?
I would recommend making the list into a number that you can actually follow through on.
Yeah, that's like 20, I guess.
20, 10, 5, like whatever works for you. For some people, it's just one. And like if this feels really weird, then even one is a great start.
Hmm.
But whatever works for you. But what matters most is that you do it consistently.
Do you have any like? I think I said this before, but do you have any cognitive behavioral therapy or exercises I could do?
Yeah, I think I'd recommended a book or two to you. And this is more for anxiety and depression. There's a great book called Feeling Good by David Burns, Dr. David Burns, which is really good. I think it's a great like introduce to cognitive behavior therapy. He has a bunch of exercises within it. That's probably one of the really good ones. I don't have a book that comes top of any other book that comes to the top of my head. Even if you search for it on YouTube, you'll find tons of great people who talk about CBT or cognitive behavior therapy. And for those of you who don't know what cognitive behavior therapy is, it's a proven scientific way of helping you see through the lies and counteract it with positive self-talk, with truthful beliefs that you can start implementing in your life. Um, there's a lot of research that backs it up that it's very, very effective in dealing with anxiety, with depression, with a lot of mental illnesses. And so if there's an element of that in your life, then I highly recommend checking out some of these CBT types of resources.
Okay. So now I'm thinking of journaling whatever thoughts I have, so I can like better contemplate the hack book or your book, so I can be free for life.
Well, you already are free for life.
Yeah.
Don't think any less of yourself. You already are free for life. Now it's just a matter of like really letting that sink in. Like you already own the piece of land. Now you're just building a nice house on it. Now you're just making sure that all the weeds are out. It's that sort of thing. So journaling is great. I think it's a great step in not just escaping PMO, but just in life. It helps you examine like what you're thinking, feeling in a lot more detail. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I also think people nowadays, right? Whenever they have urges, they do the traditional methods like do 10 push-ups, take a cold shower. But the truth is, like, are you actually gonna do that when you could just be sitting here and like at the comfort of your bedroom? You're not gonna, right?
Yeah.
But then with easy peasy, it's just like, yo, PMO is just slavery. I don't even want to do that. And then you're free just like that. And then you gotta tweak some stuff up, like your belief system and stuff like that. Find your purpose, and then you're free, basically.
It's all mindset, man. It's all the physical thing is you don't need to do no push-ups or cold showers.
Wait, but I still get like arousal at this point. So is that normal? Should I just like what should I do with it?
No, dude, you're fine. I mean, you're like a teenager. You're gonna get that. But so there's like two types of it, right? There's like the normal sexual arousal that you get when you see like a pretty classmate or something like that, and then there's the artificial part of it, which is from watching all of this media. The second part is all artificial, and we talked about this whole call on how to kind of deal with it, how to escape from it. The first part of it, if it's that normal kind of like sexual attraction you feel for someone, you really need to understand that is a creative energy, right? Like it's just energy. It's this urge to want to create. It's this urge to want to be with someone, and you can channel that into whatever you want. You can channel that into a school project. You can channel that into doing some writing or making a movie or writing a song or like playing an instrument or I don't know, drawing. You can channel it into whatever you want. And there's a huge, if you Google this up, there's a huge number of writers, of musicians, of directors and playwrights and painters who use a muse. And what a muse is someone that this artist is powerfully attracted to, and they think about this person as they're creating their art. And the urges that they have towards someone, they channel it into creativity. And some of the greatest artists, some of the greatest writers and painters and poets of the world have had a muse. They've had someone that they're kind of attracted to, and that urge they channel into creating something cool. Yeah, like we can use that energy for anything. That normal, natural urge we have to mate and be with someone, we can use it to do anything.
Okay. Oh, this helps so much, man. Kevin, thank you.
Oh man, it's my pleasure. And you were saying at the beginning of our call that you're awkward and you're not really good talking, but you were excellent. I'm glad we had this chat, man. I think it's going to help a lot of people see through a lot of lies that they believe. So thank you as well.
Thanks everyone for listening to this episode of Filling the Void. It would mean a lot to me if you went ahead and left a great review, a great rating on iTunes Podcast, on Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to this podcast. And of course, if you want to learn more about these ideas, go on Amazon.com and look up Quit Porn Easily. It's an ebook that I wrote, which has the best of my coaching summarized. It's only 99 cents. And of course, if you are looking for coaching, go on to quitporneasily.com/coaching. That's quitporneasily.com/coaching. Get personalized coaching about your porn addiction, your internet addiction. I'm here for you. Thanks everyone for listening, and I will see you next time.